Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivimey.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are building up to the release of How to Train Your Dragon by covering How to Train Your Dragon.
For once, we can't complain about a weird title, I guess, because it's just the same title again.
You know what? I could complain, but I won't.
But you won't.
I think of all of the remake things of the air quote live action, keeping the title identical is one of the least bothersome. I'm just like, sure, it doesn't bother me.
I'm also
it doesn't
not
bother me.
It doesn't bother me. For the sake of clarity, I almost wish it wasn't just bracket 2025 is kind of the only way to tell.
Sure.
But it would be weird if it was just called live action.
Yeah, because when you see trailers that are like How to Train Your Dragon only in theaters, I'm like, no, it ain't. It's at home. It's everywhere. What are you talking about?
We've seen it.
We've seen it.
What are you trying to gaslight me? Are you Berenstain Bearsing me?
Don't you come at me.
This movie's out.
It's out and I know it.
It feels like a crazy, if you actually didn't know, they were like, didn't they make this already?
Yeah.
Because the trailers look shot for shot.
Someone who's been in a coma but only for 9 years wakes up kind of confused. What?
Wasn't this animated? The dragon looks the same.
I just saw this, I thought.
But Jay Baruchel was a cartoon, though.
This has been in theaters for 10 years? They say is the most important thing that questions one would ask when you...
Don't ask who the president is.
When you come out of a coma. Out of a 10-year... Oh, yeah, also an auspiciously perfectly timed coma. Well, we're talking about the 2010 fully animated Jay Baruchel starring feature today on the podcast in anticipation of the release of the new one that contains flesh actors sometimes.
Flesh actors? Wow. You know what? Maybe they should change the title. How to Train Your Dragon.
Flesh actors sometimes.
I mean, fuck, I'd go.
How a flesh actor trains your dragon.
Which is CG.
Which is CG.
Which looks the same as the animated dragon, yeah.
Parenthetical 2025.
I'm really excited to see both of these.
Yes, it's going to be a fun little back-to-back. So we're talking about that today on the podcast. Before we do get to that, I just want to let you all know real quick that if you are in the Vancouver area, I'm coming your way this summer. I'm going to be popping in there on my way to some other exciting things that we'll mention later. But I am going to be doing a one-night-only show that I am headlining on July 19th at Chillax Studios in Vancouver. Tickets are available right now on Eventbrite. There will be a link in the show notes of this episode, or you can go to my website, andrewivimey.com, and you will find the link for tickets there. So if you're in the Vancouver area, at the end of July 19th, I will be headlining a one-night-only show with some phenomenal support acts as well. Ivan Decker, who has been on the podcast before. He's been on our Kick-Ass episode, he's been on Conan, and he's a Juno Award winner, as well. Amber Harper-Young, who's been on CTV, CBC. We've got some killer acts that are going to be kicking things off right, and I'm going to be there hanging out, so come by, say hey if you're in the Vancouver area. Link in the show notes, or on Eventbrite, or at andrewivimey.com. Vancouver, come on out.
Come on out. He's not in Vancouver very often. You better get your butts out there.
That is true. I tell you one thing that I do tire of. Every time I leave a city, someone in that city being like, oh, man, tell me next time you come by No, you get one a year. You make it work. Free up the schedule. Free it up.
Canada's big. Vancouver's not right next door.
It's not right next door.
None of our cities are all that close to each other.
If you're like, oh, I'm busy on the 19th, free it up.
Free it up.
Free it up.
You're not getting another chance.
Free it up. Yeah. If it ain't a medical consultation, free it up. Free it up.
Even then, you're Canadian probably.
Even then,
reschedule it.
It still takes a long time to reschedule these
consultations.
Things. I mean, if you have any kind of medical
if it's like a light,
thing, then don't
if it's
come.
a light appointment,
maybe a light thing. Use your discretion there. Well, that is it for things that I have to promote. Let's get into the episode. Let's talk about 2010's fully animated, no flesh actors, How to Train Your Dragon. All right, we have rewatched?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen it.
Only this one. I haven't seen any of the sequels.
Yeah, I think the same for me. So we have rewatched the original 2010 fully animated How to Train Your Dragon. Let's start with the usual, the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
Oh, I really like it. This is a lovely movie. It's a delight. Like, it has a couple big laughs, not like consistently hilarious, but it also has heart. It doesn't have like so much heart that you're like ever crying or you're like, oh God, I'm wrecked by How to Train Your Dragon. I sound like Jay Baruchel because I'm so emotional.
That's how wrecked you get.
But I don't. But I'm okay with that. It's got a good runtime. It's got a good vibe. It's got a great premise. The premise is killer. It really takes it most of the way. Really good voice performances. It's a fun movie. It's not a love. I think there's like, when we get to, I think most of my episode is going to be the what would you change. So if we allot a lot of time for that, I've got like 3 changes that I think would up it to a love instantly. It's not quite there, but it's like a really high like. It's a delightful film. Such a good runtime. It's good for kids. It's good for adults. They nailed it with this one. It's full of dragons. It's got a bunch of dragons, and one's a cute one, and that's all you really need. It really nails it. Andrew, how do you feel about How to Train Your Dragon?
I think I'm on a similar wavelength to you, a little bit higher maybe. I think it's very good. I really like it. I think it would be a love if I had kids, because there is a lot about this where I'm like, when you say like it doesn't wreck you, like sometimes a Pixar movie will wreck you.
Pixar movie will wreck you.
Will wreck you in a way that, like, if you're in the mood to be wrecked, sometimes that is like a nice thing to kind of go through, but it's not necessarily always a light fare, and sometimes things can get in a way that leaves kids kind of like, what's that about? This doesn't do that. This is just a very comfortable, you've got a child who is like 6 to 16 and you want something that everyone's going to have a breezy good time. No one's going to be wrecked. We're going to have a few laughs. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is like, I'm going to say damn near perfect family fare. That doesn't do anything that elevates it too far off, but I think that is its intention. It doesn't alienate anyone. It doesn't go too dark. It doesn't go too aggressive. It doesn't go too adventurous. It really finds a nice blend between everything, which is where it wants to exist.
It almost seems like that should be impossible to make a film that pleases everyone, because usually that means you're not going to please anyone. If you're like, oh, we got to make it for the 6-year-olds and the parents and the 12-year-olds in case they're hanging out with their 6-year-old sibling. But really it does, like, the comedy lands and the emotional stuff isn't too hard to bear. The adventure's fun. You're absolutely right. Like, a parent wouldn't mind watching this like 18 times, and a child would not be traumatized by it.
Yes.
That's a great point, because there are definitely elements that could traumatize you if you did them differently. Like, there's a dead mom, but they don't do like the Up or Finding Nemo-esque of like, this is how she died and why we're sad about it.
Yeah, there is a loss of limb in life as well.
Yeah, in a Pixar movie, you would just be bawling your eyes out once he loses his leg. But in this movie, they're just like, some of these Vikings don't have legs.
Yeah, and they're like, that's just a normal thing.
You've already met this guy. He hasn't had a leg the whole movie. He's fine.
And in fact, not overworking it for emotion, and we can talk more about this later, is I think one of the kindnesses that it provides as well. I think it's just light, perfect fare. I think that this is kind of DreamWorks at its best. I think DreamWorks at its worst is when it's trying to be Pixar. And DreamWorks at its best is like this and Shrek, where it's just like, this is just kind of, you throw it on, everyone in the family is going to be happy, and like, the parents had a pretty good time, the kids had a pretty good time, and we're nailing this kind of perfect ball of everything. Yeah,
that's fair. Because, Shrek has, I think, bigger laughs than this, but also doesn't have any emotional wrecking.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I think
purposefully, not like neither movie are failing to do an emotional wrecking.
Yeah, so I like it a little bit more than you, but have a lot of respect for it and think it's a love for anyone who wants to throw on a movie with their family and with their young kids.
I can respect and support all this. I think we're on almost the exact same wavelength.
Love
it. The little wavelengths are not far off on the graph when you make 2 wavelengths.
When you make 2, they're pretty close. We can kind of average them out, really.
We can average out anything.
Shit, that is how averages work, actually.
Averages work.
I guess I hadn't really looked on the silver lining of averages. They can be really far apart,
and you still get an average.
You can just do whatever you want with averages. This is a beautiful...
I'm good at math.
This is a beautiful way to look at life. What a lovely kind of optimistic outlook after seeing a light, optimistic film. This is the type of outlook that a movie like this gives you.
We can all be on the same wavelength if we average out our wavelengths.
We certainly can. I'll start with one weird positive thing for this movie that I will say. And this is strange because this man has had a career, a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff. But I mean this sincerely, without an ounce of sarcasm and as a compliment. I think this might be Gerrard Butler's best performance he's ever given in a film.
I have the exact same note written down.
Yes?
I
Okay, you're with me, huh?
have the same note about how I don't even dislike Gerrard Butler at all. I like him just fine in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. 300, the ones about the White House.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sure
Olympus
he's in
Has Fallen.
something else.
We like him in the campier stuff. Like the
Airplane.
Plane. I think it's just called Plane.
Is it called
I think it's just
Plane?
called Plane, him and Mike Coulter. We like him in the campier stuff as well. And yes, he's also whiffed it from time to time. What actor hasn't? But yeah, I like him in the campier stuff. I like him when he tries. I like him when he's being an action star and he falters sometimes. But he hits the range of everything picture perfect in this movie. And it's kind of like jarring how good he is.
He is absolutely nailing it. He's in the live action, right? He's playing the same character. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's going to be,
to my understanding,
very
yes.
interesting. But yeah, he is absolutely nailing pretty much everything we said earlier. He's getting the comedy at just the right beats. He's doing just enough emotional work to be like, oh, I'm invested in this father-son relationship, but I don't hate the dad in a way that I can't forgive him, but I'm not like medium on him, but I like him because he's like trying to help his son. Yeah, he is hitting all these great notes. Him and Craig Ferguson have great banter together.
Yeah.
In the trivia, it says that people actually recorded in the same booth, which is pretty rare because it's a pretty small cast for an animated movie.
And an all on-camera cast, which I think
Yes.
is, big picture, one of the negative things that I think DreamWorks has brought to the world in their films, which is using face actors for typically voice roles. But, a broken clock is right twice a day kind of a thing, where literally like every DreamWorks movie where it's like you didn't need to get 11 movie stars for this movie, but 2 of them are perfect casting and are also kind of good voice talent. And Gerrard Butler is one of them,
Yeah, he is absolutely nailing it. I completely agree. Yeah, whenever his character is here, the dad, we're just going to call him Dad, but he's stoic.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, wow, this is nice, Gerrard. I can feel your resonance in the microphone, and it feels like this. If the character is so physically big drawn, and his voice is really resonating, that this character is 18 times bigger than his son.
Yep.
And like that's just how deep his voice is anyway. So it's great voice acting or just casting, but also it's just great to watch. You're like, yeah, I believe a man could be that much bigger than his 15-year-old son.
Yes, absolutely, he
Due
can.
to the voice coming out of him.
And also, as well, like, it's great for Gerrard Butler as well to use his native Scottish accent, which, like, sometimes it's like to say he's ever disappeared into other accents would be a lie, but he has mitigated his Scottish to certain degrees in other roles. It's great to hear him do his natural Scottish. He has way more range in it. Even, like, I'm going to say every possible emotion that he is conveying, like just kind of like disappointment and lethargy over his son to be like, oh, it's him again. He's doing it. Like he sells the sadness really well. He sells his pacing on the comedy, even like his ums and ahs in certain scenes are very comedic and he has a lot of variation within it. The straight comedy, like the anger, the action hero, every scene, he is showing a full range of an actor's capabilities, and it's fucked up. This is his best performance ever.
I mean, as you said, using your own accent is so freeing. It really helps. Maybe he also just shines in the booth. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't even want to be a face actor. Maybe he's just like, this is great. I love this.
Maybe he just loved this script, and he's like, I get it, and I love it. Like maybe it's just a nice match.
Maybe. I will say, now I haven't studied accents enough, especially like natural ones, to know, but there are a couple lines he has where I'm like, did you do that line American? Which is weird because why would you drop your natural accent unless you're like, oh, right, I'm supposed to be American all the time like I usually am.
Right.
But it was just a couple times and it wasn't like, I think it was only not even jarring, but just like, oh, is that how Scottish people say that?
Interesting.
More than I was like, you fucked up. I was like, oh, it just sounds like we say it.
That is interesting. I wonder which it was in that scenario.
There was definitely one line when they first got to like the big dragon nest. Don't remember what it was, but
right.
like, if you wanted to go back and rewatch what I'm thinking of, definitely like, it was like as soon as they got to the dragon's nest, he said something that I was like, seemed pretty flatly American.
Interesting. And I think there is something like natural about that as well, of when it's someone's natural accent that maybe they will weave in and out of it just because of the popularization of American pop culture, and it's affected certain pronunciations and affectations. Yelling things will also change certain things. So it's like, maybe he's not doing maybe he's not doing a Mike Myers Shrek rolled R when he's like, dragon. But maybe when he's yelling it with clarity to an army and he's like, it's a dragon. And like, maybe it's not like a hard rolling Scottish R when you need to enunciate and yell. I think that there's natural things there, but maybe he flubbed it.
We'll find out. We'll watch it again later.
Yeah.
We will not report back, listeners.
We will not report back.
This is for us to know.
Yeah. Yelling and singing changes the cadence of an accent.
Oh, singing.
Yeah. When British people sing, they just sound American.
That's crazy.
That's right.
So
it's like, what's real?
So weird.
What
is reality?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're on voice actors, Craig Ferguson is also wildly funny in this. Perfectly cast to just bring like a lot of humor to every scene he's in. And I really actually very much like the casting of Jay Baruchel as Hiccup.
He is the character. He plays it really. He owns it.
He owns it in like, he is this like nervous, skinny boy. So like even you drawing him, you would draw him exactly how Hiccup looks. But also just like the fact that his voice is already like that and it's supposed to be a 15-year-old kind of hormonal nervous kid. I'm like, yeah, I know you're in your like 40s now, but you still are a 15-year-old child.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever have to just cast an adult to play a kid without doing like kid voice, like that's just how Jay Baruchel sounds. He's not really changing much of his voice.
Yeah, he knows how to do that vocal fry really well, where it's just like it can start up here and then like whatever it is, like like it goes around. It's a little uncontrollable, and I think a little bit of it is the rounded Canadian O's are a little bit more teen-like in many ways.
FYI, guys, if you didn't know, he's one of ours.
He's one of ours.
We get Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, he's also like proudly one of ours, which is one of the rare one of ours.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds is in Tim Hortons commercials now.
Yeah, but that's about getting that money. That's different.
Jay Baruchel does it for love of the game.
Yeah, Jay Baruchel's like, I fucking love being in Canada.
That's fair. Also, Mike Myers for Shrek.
Yeah, that's true.
All the DreamWorks leads.
Whoa, look
we've
out.
Noticed a trend.
DreamWorks.
I wish I could think of a third DreamWorks movie.
Third DreamWorks, Madagascar, but that's just all Americans in that, isn't it?
Yeah, Will Smith and Ben Stiller.
No, it's Chris Rock and Ben Stiller.
That made me feel bad.
It's
comedy.
What are you going to do? There's a bunch of other people. I'm sure we can find a Canadian in the cast. You know what I mean?
There's got to be somebody. Maybe the Penguins.
Probably the Penguins. We'll figure that out later.
Another positive, and this actually kind of accidentally goes back that I already had written down I wanted to talk about to what you said about this movie balancing really well. I really think the action does a perfect balance of these are exciting action sequences, but we don't actually have to see any dragons or humans die. But we understood they have died before, and we're not kind of skirting around that. But like they're still like feel like they're full of danger and excitement, and like it's not just like, oh, I got banged on the head, and I bet no one ever dies. It's like, no, they've died. People are missing limbs. We talk about killing lots of them.
Yes.
But I think the action sequences do like a really great job of finding that middle ground of like not traumatizing but exciting.
Yeah, I fully agree
for a
with that.
movie about going to war with dragons.
It's a really nice balance of like there is this thing in children's media, like the idea of parents in the next room. Like things are acceptably exciting to children if it's kids their age going on an adventure and they don't want the parents to be around, but the parents should be in the next room. So if anything gets too scary, the characters can go see the parents in the next room. And this does a really weird kind of new thing of having both the parents and horrifying violence in the next room, where it's always one room removed from both safety and incredible danger. But I think that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, like, the dad goes off on this first adventure to find the dragons and comes back. It's clearly missing a lot of men, and several ships didn't make it back. And it's like, oh, okay, hundreds of people just died, but we didn't see that battle. So all the really dark stuff is happening off screen. And it's not being taken lightheartedly, but we're not drowning in like hundreds of people just died fighting dragons.
We're not drowning in grief. And I think also it works really well because this is the world that they live in and they're a little desensitized to it. So it allows the movie to kind of breeze past it. Like 6 or 7 ships left, one half full, half broken ship returned. And he comes back and everyone's like, hey, how's it going? Your kid's doing great. Like, everyone's having a good day and no one's weeping. Everyone's like, we didn't expect any ships to come back, so this is an absolute win.
It is a win because they did establish in the previous scene that usually the ships don't come back at all. So yeah, even one ship coming back, they were like, oh shit, the king made it back!
And the kid rules. So
And his son's been progressing.
we're having a great time here, aren't we?
Great to be the Viking.
Yeah. So I agree. It's a nice balance here.
It's a nice balance. Now, since we're on the war with the dragons, I do have to say the dragons are pretty intelligent and they're pretty smart. Like, they're not like fully intelligent, but they're smart. But it does kind of feel to me, I don't think the dragons know they're at war with the humans. This feels a little one-sided. This feels like the elevator scene in Mad Men was like, I don't think about you at all. The dragons are like, we're dealing with a giant dragon who's going to eat us if we don't bring him sheep, and you're just kind of in our way. We are not at war with you.
If I forget to Photoshop that, please, listeners, one of you do it. Just toothless in an elevator, and it's the Mad Men meme, and it's I forget the name of the other character, but just being like, I feel sad for you, and then just toothless, like, I don't think about you at all.
At all. We come for the sheep. We leave with the sheep.
Yeah.
We never think about you again.
I fully agree. Yes, I mean they're dragons.
They're dragons, but like the humans act like they're at war and the dragons hate them and are coming for them, and that the humans are keeping them at bay. And it's like the dragons would just wipe you out if they really wanted to. Yes. I think the big dragon doesn't feel like eating humans. You're too much bone. I've always felt that about humans. We're way too much bone to meat ratio.
And we're just too much trouble.
We're trouble.
We're not worth it.
Axes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just not worth it. Yeah.
But yeah, the whole movie when the dad is just like, in the whole movie, the point is like that they're actually like moderately peaceful and we don't need to be at war with them, but it also just feels like they're like, we're at war?
We don't know. Well, yeah.
That weird McDonald's we stop at is at war with us?
Yeah, like, wolves don't know they're at war with, like, any animals that they're with, any humans that they're near and fighting with, you know? A poisonous snake doesn't know it's at war. You know, like, animals don't know they're at war.
Well, I mean, I actually believe even a wolf maybe could, because, like, if you're both ground animals, you can be encroaching on each other's territories. When one of you flies, you do not know you're at war.
Yeah, you just don't know you're at war if you fly. Yeah, that is, if you don't have territory.
Yeah, the dragons don't have territories. They're like, what?
I mean, I just don't think any animal other than humans can be at war. It's an entirely human concept. I think you can protect your territory. I think animals can have rivalries. Beef. You can have
You can be made of beef and have beef.
You can be made of beef and have, you can be like, this guy keeps coming into my territory. I recognize the smell. I hate whoever this is. That's beef. But you can't pass that on to your kids or like recruit other people. There's no.
I'm not even sure the dragons have beef though.
I also don't think they have beef.
Okay.
I'm saying beef is the maximum, but I do agree that they're not at beef.
Beef is the maximum an animal can have.
The beef is the maximum an animal can have.
Okay.
A human can have hate and war.
Yes.
An animal can have beef. That's it.
What's nice about animals. Yeah. They can't have hate.
Bless them.
This is why this is why we can't fight the dragons.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say though, there are a few things about Hiccup where I'm like, you're right, but also you're kind of an idiot at the you don't seem to understand mortal peril. Like, you know, like it's done for a goof, but it's like you're asking a question while the room is on fire, and it's like you were right big picture. Moment to moment, you do need a caretaker looking after you because you would have fallen into a pit of spikes years ago.
Yeah, Astrid's right when she's like, this isn't a game. We could all die because as the movie's established, everyone can die. Yeah, it almost feels like Hiccup is kind of like a little bit like fourth wall Deadpool-esque, like he knows he's in that middle ground DreamWorks picture. He's like, this isn't a crying movie. It'll be fine. But everyone else doesn't know they think they're in a Pixar movie.
That's interesting.
Everyone else thinks it's Pixar. And he seems to know it's DreamWorks. Yeah, he's very dumb about the, like, you know, he's pretty cautious about approaching Toothless, which is weird. It's almost like he's removed his own safety net of the other villagers always looking away from him, looking after him, and then he's actually pretty cautious. You know, he approaches slowly. He has a knife. He does the stuff with the fish to earn his trust. He like doesn't come in too hot or too hard. But yeah, when he's in the village, he's an absolute idiot. It's like he knows that they're all going to carry him and keep him alive.
That is interesting. And there's a selfishness to that. To be like, you could get other people killed now, my guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the whole opening act is everyone telling him to go back inside because he just causes problems whenever he tries to kill a dragon.
Yes.
And he won't listen, and then he causes more problems. So he doesn't take advice well.
No, he doesn't take advice well.
It's not super endearing when you're trapped in a cage with a dragon trying to kill you and you're not trying to protect or get away from the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with this. Yeah, it's not endearing at first.
It's not endearing at first.
Once he starts like figuring out the things about Toothless and then incorporating that into the arena, then it does become endearing.
It is endearing, and you're like, oh, he's clever, and he doesn't have to kill dragons, and you really do start rooting for him because you also don't want to kill dragons as a viewer. You're like, oh, they've made them kind of goofy and cute when they're up close, and they're not just lighting the village on fire.
Yeah.
So it's a good balance.
Yeah.
I do also like this is actually maybe one of the things that's a little too deep for kids, but I actually think it's quite tragic and nice. I do like this kind of opening tragedy of the dad is actually right about Hiccup in the beginning. This is just good writing, I think, that I like. So in the beginning, the dad is like, you can't kill a dragon. You never will. And Hiccup's like, no, I will kill a dragon. And his dad actually sees his son and recognizes and is absolutely right about the fact that he can't kill a dragon.
Whoa.
But the tragedy is, after his dad is like, the tragedy of this movie is that his dad is like, I'm finally going to listen to my son. He's been telling me he can kill a dragon. And his dad decides to do that the second that he has realized he actually can't kill a dragon because he couldn't kill Toothless. And there is it does make the father, like, just intentionally actually, like, a good dad. He's like, I've been trying to tell him who he is, but he won't listen, so I'm going to accept who he tells me he is. But he was right the whole time is the tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's why they can't communicate for most of this movie, because Hiccup can't admit his father was right.
Dang. Neither one of them want to back down, but his father was right.
The dad backed down first.
did back down. Yeah.
The dad backed it with all of his pride and all of his warriorness. Said like, no, I'm going to let my son kill dragons.
Wow. And then tried to like bump up his confidence and encourage him. Like it wasn't. Yeah, that is a very interesting thing that this movie does of like them crossing ships in the night as to what their opinion on killing dragons are. And it's played very comedically, but it's also like a pretty sad little tragedy that they have there of being like, you don't have to, fuck it, you want to. Fine, do it. Oh, he doesn't want to do it anymore, but can't tell me why. But I'm just a dad telling my son to go for the thing he's told me he wanted his entire life, even if I don't think it's right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Most movies start off with a parent who isn't listening to who their child really is, like A Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, maybe. Where the dad is like, my son's going to be a fisherman, and he's just like this scientist instead. And that's who he really, truly is. This movie is a dad who is like, right off the bat, is like, I see who you are, but I'm going to listen. And he's just wrong about who he is.
Dang.
Not very many movies start out with the protagonist being completely wrong about who he is. And that does put this movie in a category all its own. In
a weird spot. And it does make the father very like sympathetic and likable. I think for the first part of the movie, his turn at the beginning of the third act, I think, is a little bit too harsh for what the rest of the tone of this movie is. So like in the third act, when it gets to this moment of like, he discovers that his son has been working with a dragon and thinks that they're pets and friends. And he says, he's like, that's unacceptable to him. And he's just like, throws his son into their house by the arm. And it's just like, you're not my son. I'm done with you. And I feel like it went a little too hard. Kind of going back to what I was saying at the beginning, I do think Gerrard Butler still gives one of the best performances he's ever given and does what he was told to do and what was in the script. But I think what was in the script was a little too harsh or like didn't approach it from quite the right angle.
Yeah, it's a little too harsh being friends with a dragon and training a dragon when you live in a society that keeps dragons in cages already and uses them for training.
As tools.
As tools already.
Yes.
This isn't a society that's like, kill every dragon you see, never let them live. We have no use for them.
Yeah.
This society has a use for dragons. So the dad's like huge overreaction does seem like a pretty big overreaction.
Yeah.
I mean, he is trying to defend the dragon more than like the villagers, but like the dad just won't accept that the dragon was trying to defend him. So there's stuff going on, but the "you're not my son" is is like the biggest, meanest thing you could say to somebody.
It crosses the line of stubbornness into outright hate, which like I realize there are things here that are like analogous to, father-child relationships as to, who you really are and that being rejected. But it's I think for the tone of this movie too harsh for what it's a different film. It's real, but it's a different film.
Yeah, it's a different like, oh, my heart's been broken. Like,
yes.
We're going to have a cry now.
Yeah. I do want to take a moment to just give a lot of love and appreciation for how well animated Toothless is. It looks great. The animations are very lovable and likable and convey what it needs to say really well. And for generally speaking, I remembered this movie looking a little bit better. It was 14 years ago, and watching it today, I was like, oh, I can see that this is from 14 years ago, with the exception of Toothless, where I'm just like, the animations are flawless, the emotion is flawless, like the eye movements, the little flutters, the things that they've done to kind of combine movements of dogs, cats, and horses into all of the most likable bodily reaction of those three animals were all kind of put into one creature, and it really conveys.
It does really convey, and they managed to do it without making him, even though he's a cartoon, without making him like a caricature of a dragon.
Yes.
Because the other dragons have personality because they're like, I've got two googly eyes and I'm a big fat guy and that's my personality. The other dragons are drawn like children's cartoons, but Toothless is drawn like a real kind of grounded animal who isn't silly. But they have really nailed like exactly what you're saying about like his movements, his emotions, like the entire scene where he wants Hiccup to eat the fish. There's no lines because he never has lines, but there is a full dialogue going on. But it's not like, it's not over the top and silly. It's just like, we understand what this dragon's saying just through eye movement of eat the fish. Fish? Fish is good? Swallow? It's so funny. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. It's hilarious.
And it walks up to the line of like pantomime where like it doesn't quite go through, but it is these little reactions that kind of do everything for you. Yeah, the big eyes, the head pushback, the smile.
The cuteness.
Yeah. It's really nice. Yeah, they've nailed Toothless.
Yeah, they've absolutely nailed it. Especially, I think, difficult for like, the design is like he's a night fury, so he's like fully black. So you haven't been able to add like any pops of color, any personality. It's really hard to do definition and detailing on a fully black dragon. Yeah. But you still see all the parts of him, and he's got, I mean, it makes the eyes glow more. Yeah. Against the backdrop. But yeah, they've really nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a perfect creature.
He's perfect. Not perfect. Astrid's bangs. This is my segue. Astrid also is done dirty as a character in character development, but she's more done dirty by the fact that she's the best warrior out of all the young warriors, but she can't see shit.
She can't see a goddamn thing. The bangs are... I appreciate you going after the bangs.
I think bangs are fine when you can physically see.
Yeah.
A warrior who is fighting a dragon can't have bangs.
Can't have bangs.
Fully over the eye.
Fully over the eyes? It doesn't work at all.
It doesn't work at all. She's better than that. If she was one of the silly characters...
Oh, yes.
If she was like the silly twin girl, like who had like the
twin
idiots.
Girl could have that. I think they're kind of portrayed as like a little bit like stoner skater kids are the two ones.
Yeah, more grungy.
Grungy, yeah.
But you know, if the personality of one of the idiots was, I'm someone with bangs and I don't realize that means I can't see the dragon. You got your own built-in blind spot. This whole movie is about how the dragons have blind spots right in the middle of their head. And she's like, what if I had one?
Astrid has her hair up. You know, as a character... Astrid has her hair up.
As a character, Astrid has her hair up.
Yes. Also, I do not think that the romantic subplot works in any way. I think that's just kind of like, I don't know who that's there for. It's just...
There's got to be a smooch. It's on the checklist of things you got to put in a movie.
I don't think this one it does. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying they all need it.
Yeah.
Every studio's got a little checklist, and it's like there better be a smooch somewhere.
Because I think
kids love it.
And I don't. I understand that probably was a note that someone provided. I cannot understand or imagine an age group that like if you made this movie but there was no smooch, you just cut out the smooching scene and that little subplot, which is really just like 3 minutes of movie. It's not even that much. If you cut that out, I cannot imagine an age group who's watching this who's like, but where's the smooch?
No
like
one needs
it's not
smooch.
missing. There's no absence of it if it wasn't around. It just, this movie works for everyone, regardless of a romantic subplot that's really just kind of hammered in.
And honestly, if there's no smooch, Astrid is just such more of a badass if this is just platonic warrior and friend.
1,000,000%.
She's so much cooler if she's like, yeah, I actually sincerely don't even like Hiccup, but I need to know what's happening. And okay, he's changed my mind as a friend. I'm still a super cool warrior, and I don't just need to be like, and I gave him a smooch at the end.
Yeah, I've respected the new opinions of people within my community who I'm not romantically attracted to is an awesome arc that means so much, and her getting there sooner and without the romantic connection would parallel what is about to happen with the community a lot better, to be like, oh, people can evolve and change. Mm-hmm. And it's not about convincing my crush. It gives me hope that I can have a talk with my dad or with and be part of my community. I think it is so much more important.
Yeah, it's a good step forward. And also, as soon as you do a smooch, now your character is a love interest.
Yeah.
You're no longer just other warrior, or like, here's the action figure of Astrid. It's like, here's the action figure of Hiccup's love interest. Mm-hmm. 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 I'm sorry. I had one more thing about the bangs.
Oh, lay it on me.
And it's a positive that became a negative, actually, because I hated the bangs, couldn't see her eyes. But a cool thing they did with the bangs, and they almost made it cool throughout, as soon as she understood that Toothless wasn't dangerous and that he could keep the dragon and it was fine, she pushed her bangs aside and she could see. And they stayed like that for like a whole scene. Oh. And I was like, oh, her eyes have been opened. The bangs were a metaphor. And then in the next scene, they were over her eyes again. And they didn't get pushed to the side again. So it still works as a brief metaphor.
As a very brief metaphor.
No, it's like another minute and a half of a scene. So she pushes them aside as soon as she's been convinced. And I'm like, oh, that's actually like clever. Now she's going to be able to see the whole rest, and now they're back. Now they're back over her eyes.
It's a metaphor for not getting inconvenient bangs.
Okay.
If you think about it.
If you think about it really hard, I guess?
Really hard, you guess. Mm-hmm. So it takes a little bit extra. And then they hit a few other people with the additional cast of characters as well. With like Christopher Mintz-Plasse and Jonah Hill as well. And
they're just like, let's super bad these kids.
Yeah, let's just hammer in Kristen Wiig as one of them as well. They're just hammering face actors at every back character.
Yeah, there's not a single voice actor among them.
Not a single dedicated voice actor.
Predominantly voice actor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which would be nice.
Yeah, which could be a mistake, because I don't think it really works for the supporting cast.
No, the supporting cast doesn't land the way they would. Outside of the big three. The supporting cast doesn't land they would, I think, if they got voice actors. Yeah, the characters would have felt more fleshed out, more individualized. All right, next point. I touched on this briefly. But what I really like about this movie is it's got a great reason to need to train a dragon, which is because most movies like I'm sorry that the best comparison I can think of is Avatar, of a movie where you ride another creature and you learn how to ride it.
You know what?
Were you also
I was also thinking about Avatar.
I don't want to think about Avatar.
No one wants to think. No one other than Jim wants to think about Avatar.
Jim can't stop thinking about it.
Oh, Jim James, he can't.
He loves that I'm thinking about Avatar while I'm watching How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
But anyway, in Avatar, I don't like that they're just like, we use these creatures and we make them fly us around. I love that this movie I learned how to ride a dragon because the dragon couldn't fly without me, and it was my fault. It is such a perfectly constructed reason for this to have happened, for you to still like the main character, and you're not like, oh, he's just using this dragon, and he's going to try to tame it and not let it be wild anymore. He's allowing it to be wild by riding it. It is such a brilliant writing piece that I honestly can't get over it. It makes me not like any other dragon rider as much. I'm like, well, you're not giving anything to this dragon. The other dragons don't need these riders in any way, so I do wish the humans gave more to the dragons other than Hiccup. But the hiccup-toothless relationship is absolutely perfect because they genuinely need each other.
I mean, I presume that, like, well, maybe not all of the kids initially, that does feel kind of rushed or whatever, but it's like food and relationship and a symbiotic thing in the way that you would have with, like, cats or dogs or horses or somewhere in between a pet and a beast of burden kind of a thing. But yeah, I'm with you. It does really work with Hiccup and Toothless, really smooth. And it's also kind of what they're going through. Like, all of these dragons are collecting food for the main dragon, whether it's some kind of leader of the pack, a queen bee type of thing, or like a chemical manipulation they have to and they have no control. Because it does seem like they have new personalities once the queen bee, per se, is destroyed.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if there is a level of like chemical-based mind control or I have to do something. But like Toothless is firing down on that village before being injured by Hiccup. Like, they're both causing harm before they meet the harm they've caused. Mm-hmm. So even though the missing wing is a literal personification of the harm that that Hiccup caused, it did also go the opposite direction as well. They were both doing what they thought they had to do, and now they're doing what they choose to do based on this friendship, which is really nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. This the dragon thing leads me to, it was going to be one of my changes, but I'll bring it up now because I didn't think it was chemical based why these dragons were all doing this. I thought it was probably fear based. I really would have liked to have seen, since I want the dragons to need something from the humans, I really would have liked to have seen the dragons see Hiccup defeat the big bad dragon, because the other dragons didn't see that happen. The humans saw it happen, but all the other dragons fucked off.
Ah, interesting.
I think if the other dragons saw Hiccup and Toothless working together to defeat the big bad dragon, that would have really explained to me why the dragons joined the human colony.
Oh, interesting.
They're like, oh, these guys, if we work with them, we can beat big dragons.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that.
So that was going to be one of my small changes, that all the smaller dragons saw it happen.
As long as you got something else for that end segment, you can slip that in here. You got other stuff. But no, I do like that. And I'm not locked into like a chemical thing or anything. I didn't think you were. I'm just saying that the movie is like a little unclear, which is fine. I'm not mad that it's unclear, but the movie's just like, yeah, there's a big one. The little ones are doing stuff. Is it an alpha thing? They say like a queen bee at some point, and it's just like, I don't know, whatever. There's a big one telling the little ones to go get food.
They seem really scared of it, so they might just be like, huh.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
I can think again.
I love that woman being dead, or man, or
whatever.
Whatever kind of dragon you were.
Or not, or non-binary, who knows?
You weren't in the book.
Who knows what dragons are?
I mean, every other dragon, they know what it is. That book is chock full of dragons. That teaches you who dragons are.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I don't know if any of the dragons are explicitly gendered, is what I meant.
Gendered, sorry.
Yeah.
Types of dragons.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they really dug in of how many toys can we make of dragons, huh?
Oh, yeah, they did kind of lock in on that. See, I got kind of the impression that it was like, here's some stuff from the book this is based off of, less licensing, which always feels like more of a Disney move and less of a DreamWorks move. DreamWorks is more like, let's get 9 video-on-demand movies out of this.
Which they did.
And Disney is a little bit more, let's make the merchandising money out of this. They have different profit strategies as companies, it would seem.
Which I actually would agree with, because so many of the dragons you never actually meet. They're just in the book, which was actually kind of weird, because I'm used to, Chekhov's gunning of these movies, especially if it's a tight 90 minutes, everything's going to be relevant. I'm like, we never met the dragon that knocks trees down with its arms, and we never met the dragon that shoots boiling water instead of fire.
Right.
So I think they probably were Easter eggs from the original book, but it did make it kind of weird of did they cut the scenes with those dragons?
When are they going to show up?
The blind spot didn't come up again. It seemed really important about the dragon blind spot.
Yeah. And the main one didn't have one.
No, and that was another thing I thought the humans could give to the dragons. If you're driving a dragon, you can see the dragon's blind spot for them. You're basically checking their blind spot.
Oh, that's interesting.
That would be my job as a dragon driver. I'd be like, "You're good. You're good. Oh,
you're good.
Stuff.
Back it up. Stop."
You're literally just checking the blind spot.
I love it.
That's your job.
I love it. Well, I'm feeling pretty good on How to Train Your Dragon. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Do you feel like you could train one?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Shit, you
I'm
can't
gonna-
Jay Baruchel?
No, I am going to abstain from the entire scenario.
You're a man who wants to skydive,
Yeah.
but you don't want to train a dragon?
I don't need teeth for like. There's multiple steps
His name's
here.
Toothless.
It's That's a misnomer.
No, he does have teeth.
He has teeth, so
Okay, sorry.
I do not feel confident training a dragon after this, but maybe after the next after this. I frankly, I felt more confident before. Yeah. Now I've got more moral questions. There's all kinds of
Oh,
quandaries.
the moral questions, but it's a blind spot.
Whether I should train a dragon. You know, everyone asks how. No one says, should you train your dragon?
Fuck, we're asking the real questions on Talk from Superheroes.
We're getting real over here in the streets. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed about this film, what would you change if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we'll remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts. It helps us move up the charts, find new listeners. And when new listeners do find us, it makes it more likely that they'll actually click download or subscribe or whatever button they click. They have lots of different buttons out there.
There's so many buttons.
There's so many buttons, different words for buttons. Sometimes it's follow, sometimes it's subscribe. But people will hit that if you've left a review. And it's a free way to support this podcast. And if you do want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do that over on our Patreon page, where we have lots of cool bonuses depending on how much you subscribe at. The Patreon is one of the main reasons and ways that we are able to do this as a full-time job and keep these episodes reliably coming out for 8 years, however long we've been doing this now.
Ooh, maybe 8.
Maybe 8, a while. Over 500 episodes? How long we've been doing this?
I don't want to do the math. Let's just do the averages like before.
just gonna move over to the averages. I'll at least get a number for almost 500 episodes. We're in the 490s right now.
Whoa, we should plan 500.
We might want to.
We probably don't have to. There's a lot coming out
Our
this summer.
bicentennial or whatever. But we've been doing this for almost 500 episodes because of the patrons. So it's a huge support. It's how we keep everything going here at the network. And you get cool bonuses, like you can get our webcomic early. You can get these episodes early and ad-free as well, which is awesome, especially when it's a new movie you're thinking about going to see. So, for example, if you're on the fence about the new How to Train Your Dragon, if you sign up and subscribe, you'll be able to get that before the weekend it comes out. You'll get it on a Thursday or Friday.
I'm so excited to review the next one that I want to become my own patron. I want to hear my review for the live action one right now.
Get it to me early. And that's only for $3 a month. At the $10 level, you can get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month. Last month we did Sinners, which was a really cool and fun movie and episode. And when you sign up at that level, you get immediate access to the full back catalog of all of the bonus episodes we've ever done. Sign up for a little bit, listen to some back catalog ones that, scroll through. Whatever one catches your fancy, listen to it. I've done that for a few of my favorite podcasts on their Patreon, to be like, oh, I've only got a couple months in the budget. Hey, maybe it's a hot bonus episode summer, you know what I mean? Where you're spending a couple summer months going through some of the hits. Check it all out.
The Patreons are chill and cool, too. There's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah, we have different vibes on the Patreon.
We do have different vibes. So check it all out. It's all available over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question. Now that we have talked about this movie, what would you change if you could change anything? Diana.
My first small change is Astrid's bangs. Once they move over, they stay over.
Okay.
Because I thought that was a really nice metaphor, and I don't think it works if they don't stay pushed over. And so it was just bothering me. So Astrid's bangs moves. That's the small one, but honestly, maybe the more important one. My other change was the dragon see Hiccup and Toothless defeat the big dragon. We talked about that one. And then my other one is, it's a change that I didn't think was a change because I remembered this movie differently. I thought Hiccup didn't have a leg for most of this movie. When I remembered watching this, I remembered this being like him and Toothless had this in common the whole movie, that he had been missing a leg the whole time. So my change is actually, I think that makes it more interesting. We don't really find out how the mom died, but I'm going to assume she was killed by a dragon, even though they don't say that explicitly. And I think if he had lost his leg in the same dragon battle that she died in, it would really explain why the dad doesn't want him to fight dragons. It would explain kind of this protectiveness of why the village looks after him. maybe this was one of the most tragic dragon attacks. I think also in a village like this, whenever a queen dies, that's like more important than a villager. No, it's not actually, but people act like it is. So I
Contextually,
think,
I understand.
Contextually, you get it. So yeah, I think Toothless. I think Hiccup should not have a leg for pretty much this whole movie, and like no one thinks he can kill dragons, and it's why he works so hard on these machines, and he's always trying to prove himself. And then it does explain. It does like I like that him and Toothless would immediately match up, and not just for like the last 5 minutes match up of like you're missing a wing and I'm missing a leg now. I would think they should like match up the whole movie. I think that would be very, very nice and important. And also it would like explain why he needs these tricks in the ring to help fight dragons. If he's already kind of got this missing leg and he's like, oh, can't run as fast or whatever, but he's like, oh, but I can throw the grass and give them catnip, and I know the trick with the eels, and he can really like prove himself that way. I think it's cooler. But I don't know if I fully need it, but I think it would just like be a little bit more resonant. But it might be more Pixar than DreamWorks. So if Pixar made this movie, we would see the mom die. He would lose his leg in the same one.
I was legitimately thinking that while you said it. I'm like, it leans a little bit more Pixar.
I'm pitching the Pixar version of How I Met Your Dragon, I guess. But I'm an adult.
You said the thing that I said. You said How I Met Your Dragon. Listeners, I've been saying that all week. I'm like, and sincerely, not even as a goof, my brain flubs, and I've been saying How I Met Your Dragon, the hit CBS television series.
How I Met Your Dragon. Yes. So sometimes you want to cry. So I guess if I want to cry, I'll make the Pixar version of How to Train Your Dragon, which is this version. It doesn't need it, but I think I like the elevation a little.
And you know what? I'm on board with that, and I think there's a way to do it as well and not Pixar it up. Like, as long as it's not, like, without leaning into the parental death. Like, if it was just kind of a, like, listen, I lost your mother, you lost your leg, stay home, I'm going to... If it was done as quickly as this movie kind of quickly brushes across a lot of its background exposition and stuff like that, I think it works really well for the style of this film. So it could still be what you're doing. But yes, this amputee parallel between the both of them of learning to live and learning to make each other stronger and better and kind of go forward.
Yeah, just like thriving and proving everyone wrong.
It would work quicker. I agree with this. Mm-hmm. And there's a way to do it that's not the Pixar style of like...
This movie wouldn't do it the Pixar
The Pixar
way.
style would be a 15 minutes of loving the mom before the mom dies.
No, we don't need that, because this movie does such a good job of introducing Craig Ferguson's character early, who was missing an arm and a leg. And it's like, that's not a tragedy. That's just a character who is working around this disability.
Yes.
So I think it does that very smartly. So you're not like just crying over Hiccup's leg at the end. So I think he could just not have a leg the whole movie for the most part. Andrew, what would you change?
I like everything that you said. My change is that I think that Hiccup should be portrayed as a more successful and functional smithy/engineer earlier in the film. So obviously he makes this artificial wing and the saddle and this setup and a series of levers and pulleys, and he's got Da Vinci-esque drawings of flying machines and things like that. So he's meant to be this kind of this genius in terms of how interconnected systems could potentially work. He's thinking bigger than Vikings. Rather than a bow and arrow, he's making trebuchets and these like massive bolts. But when we first see it, it's him like at the blacksmith with Craig Ferguson's character, and he's like, look at this one, and it just like flubs and hits a guy, and he's like, it's not caliber, like none of it kind of works. I would like to see him be more competent earlier, and people are ignoring his potential. And I think that is a more interesting story, and why he's kind of frustrated and why he's kind of changing things and why people should be listening to him. So I think that especially in these earlier arena scenes where it's him and the other kids are better warriors than him, I think it should be stuff where it's just like, we're running out of shields and like he's making a super shield. Like he's putting stuff together that is helping them. And then suddenly it's this kid that none of them valued. And now they're understanding the importance of intelligence and thought and how it can actually bolster who they are as warriors. So rather than him winning over this group of friends by just kind of magically learning about dragons in his off time, I would like to see a sincere, like, no, this is we look after this dude. This is the dude like Astrid being like, he made my armor. Have you seen my armor? This rules. I've never had anything feel so comfortable. He added extra bends to the elbow. And he's like, well, yeah, if you add more scales to the armor, it'll bend a lot better. It has higher mobility by this degree. I want his nerdiness to show its value to these kids before the adults see it. And then when we add the layer of bringing that to a dragon and his intellectualism, allowing him to understand the value of other life and communicate with it, I think that elevates it in more of a straight line up versus what the movie is currently, which is a little bit of a flat line for a bit and then a hard up as soon as he meets the dragon. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I want to see his engineering capabilities throughout the movie and in the earlier arena scenes.
I like that a lot because I like the idea that Hiccup's always been trying to change the village, maybe, of like, there's better ways to fight dragons, or like, we could do this, and they've always pushed back against him, because it means they've been pushing back against like him thinking dragons are good, but they've also been pushing back against his other progressive ideas of like more machinery and more machines.
Yes, yeah. As it is right now, they're pushing back against him because they're conservative and he's progressive, but I think it kind of works really well if it's just like they haven't been appreciating what he brings. They don't appreciate new ideas in general.
No, I like that.
And it makes them more likable when they get on board later, where it's like, oh, no, you're not assholes who turned. You were a little bit ignorant and you've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could absolutely totally work, especially because it's just nice, like, it is easier for kids to convince kids. You know, they're not so set in their ways, even though kids can be mean. They can also be great friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, that absolutely works. I think that'd be cute, cool. And also, I like gadgets.
Yeah, fun gadgets.
Fun gadgets.
Fun gadgets.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's cool.
Yeah, if you can make a dragon wing on your first try.
Yeah. You can make like a cool armor that has a shield built into it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Captain America like magnet shit.
Yeah, and that like all the kids are excited about. I think that'd be fun and cool.
Let's get the kids excited about it.
Let's get the kids excited.
I love that. We did it.
We did it. Well, that is it for this week for 2010's animated How to Train Your Dragon. We will be back next week talking also about How to Train Your Dragon. That might have all the same points and thoughts. We'll see how it goes.
It's 22 minutes longer.
It's 20, so there's at least 22 minutes more of stuff to talk about.
So, guys, come back, because you're going to want to know what those 22 minutes are. I do.
And Gerrard Butler, don't you break my fucking heart.
Oh,
Please keep the energy of this performance. Please, I hope it's just as good on camera as you were in voice, because boy, you crushed it, bud.
Oh, you're hanging on by a thread, Gerrard Butler. Don't let him down.
Oh, don't hurt me. So we'll be back talking about that next week. As a reminder as well, any of our listeners who are in the Vancouver area, I'm going to be there doing a live show July 19th. Please get your tickets. They're available on Eventbrite. There will be a link in the description of this episode, and there will also be a link on my website, andrewivimey.com. So if you're in the Vancouver area, July 19th, I'm doing a special one-night only headline show, so come on out. And if you want to find me online, you can find me most places at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me at Words of Diana.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye. Let's talk about dragons.